everybody, my name is Erin, and today I want to talk about a book that I've been kind of struggling to get through recently. And I know in one of my previous blog posts I talked about how I didn't really want to make any more videos until I had, actually had editing software I that actually works. Because right now I've downloaded a free software from online, and that is just it's been a pain to use, and I just haven't wanted to use it, obviously. So I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna save up some money and just actually buy some software or something. But this this book has just been, oh God, it's been really hard for me to get through, which kind of sucks even more because it's the last book in a trilogy. So because I really liked the first book, and then the second book was okay, and then this book I'm just like, oh, this is frustrating. So, what book may I be talking about? Just one second, because obviously I can't edit this out, so should have been more prepared. I should have. Yes, yes. God, I put it all over there. All right. So it is A Conjuring of Light by V. Schwab. So this book, I've been actually reading it for. When did I start reading it? I want to say it's been a month, maybe even 2 months, which, considering the fact I'm not a particularly slow reader, kind of says something, because if I'm actually interested in a book, maybe it might have taken me a month just because my schedule's a little different and I don't read as fast as I used to, but I still shouldn't be taking me almost 2 months. And in those 2 months, I've been struggling to even want to read it, and I've been putting it down for like a week or two at a time. So, more, I guess a more accurate description would be I'd been reading it for 2 months on and off. And I've been reading a lot of books in between just because I need a break. So, it might, I know V. Schwab is one of those authors that a lot of people praise, and I can see why, because there are aspects of her writing that I really do enjoy. Um, I like how, I do like a lot her plots, and story concepts are always very interesting. It's just that when it comes to the characters, for me, that's the part that I've always kind of struggled with in her stories, and as far as like connecting with them or even caring at all. Even if I don't, I'm not like, oh, I can relate to this character, I can at least, care about whether or not they struggle or whether or not they might be in a life or death situation. But I haven't had that kind of connection with any of her characters. So that's, for me, part of the reason why I've struggled with getting through her books. Because I also, besides the Darker Shades of Magic trilogy, I've also read her Monsters of Verity duology. So that would be like The Savage Song, Art Duet. I've read those, and once again, I thought the concept of the story was interesting. Her writing style, for the most part, I enjoyed reading, but um, just those characters, I don't know what it is. I just never really cared about what happened to them, which I think is, even though I'm driven to finish the story just because I want to see how where the plot goes or how it ends, I don't really care necessarily about the characters, so it makes it harder for me to finish the books in a manner, in a more, I guess, timely manner. But yeah, so to kind of more fully understand my whole gripe about the Conjuring of Light, let's go back to the first book in the Darker Shades of Magic series. So that book I actually really enjoyed because well, character wise, I actually really liked Kel. I thought he was an interesting character, and I was actually kind of felt some kind of a connection, and I actually cared about what happened to him, which I'm like, wow, I haven't really felt like that about any of her characters, so this is new for me. But then, um, Lila came in, and I know this is actually fairly common and popular opinion, that a lot of people don't like Lila, and I can see why, because she's one of those characters where you can tell she was meant to be like that badass and independent woman who don't need no man kind of a character, and that she's supposed to, be super, yeah, I don't know where I was going to go with that. But anyways, so basically, because of the way the author had written her in, instead of her coming off as that kind of a character, she just is more obnoxious and arrogant, in my opinion. And I can see if the author was trying, since it is a trilogy and she wanted to develop Lila's character from being, oh, Lila thinks she's this badass cool person, but she's really not. And so she just comes off as arrogant. But then over the 3 books, she develops into a character that can actually walk the walk and not just talk the talk kind of a thing. But that doesn't seem to be how she was written in, because she's annoyed me throughout 3 books. So there's that. But I think another thing too that I found interesting over the course of the 3 books was the amount of perspectives in each book and how much that changed. So in the first book, it was mainly focusing on Lila and Kel. I don't even think there was any secondary characters who got like a paragraph or like a short chapter from their perspective. I'm pretty sure it was just the 2 of them that you focused on, which I was like, that's fine with me, especially since, you know, I I thought Kel was an interesting character, so I felt like I liked following his story, so I didn't mind that he was the only other character. There's only one other character because I didn't like Lila, so whatever. But then in the second book, she started, or B. Schwab, she started adding other perspectives in, which at first I was kind of not sure how to handle that, because I was like, that wasn't really how the first book was set up, and I was kind of expecting the second book to be similar in that setup to the first. But I kind of liked it just because the way she had added those perspectives in, it didn't come across as they were irrelevant to me. For the most part, when she did add a different perspective, it kind of added to the plot of the story, and it kind of built upon what was going to happen in the third book. So I thought that was really well done. But then we get to the third book. So in the last video I made, I had just started reading A Conjuring of Light, and I only got 60 pages in before I had to put it down, just because it was so overwhelming to me with the amount of perspectives that were in just like those short 60 pages. And it's not because I don't like multi-point of view books. I'm fine with them. It's just that up until that point, that's not really how the series was set up. So I wasn't expecting to be hit with like 10 different perspectives. It might have been a little less than that, but you get what I mean. There was a bunch of different character perspectives you were getting, and you were getting them from characters that you haven't really heard from before, or I guess you haven't really experienced a story from their perspective before. So it was kind of just like, okay, I don't think I was not ready for that. And so I just needed to take a break, and then I started reading it again, and I got into the story a little more. The only thing is that with the characters, once again, so Lila still don't like her. She's just always gonna come across as obnoxious to me. She's never rubbed me the right way. Um, yeah. And then there was Alucard, who once again I find him obnoxious as well. And I know it seems like V. Schwab wants to give him some kind of a redemption arc. I don't really care. I just kind of want him to die, to be honest, just to just to get rid of him. And also, I feel like it could add something interesting to the story as well. Just, mainly, though, I just want him gone. I say I want something interesting added to the story. I'm just trying to be nice, and yeah. So then the others. Oh yeah, Kel, obviously. So I know I said in the first book I liked Kel. The second book, he started coming across as more obnoxious, and I stopped liking him. And then in this book, he's not even interesting. He's not even obnoxious. He's just boring. And I'm like, okay, so he went from being a character that I actually liked to being this obnoxious character to now just being boring. Okay, that's not exactly the best way to develop a character. I don't know if she meant for him to come across that way, but that's just what how it came across to me. So then, so I said there was Lila, Alucard, Kel. Oh, and then they added Rye's perspective, which I actually am kind of interested in seeing where he goes because he's the only character that doesn't really annoy me. Um, he's, I don't know. I'm on the fence about Rye. I don't know. I don't really dislike him, but he's not like my favorite character. But I would like to see how his story goes and where the plot takes him, or where he takes the plot, or where he goes in connection with the plot. Anyways, then there's Holland. I actually am kind of interested in how Holland is fleshed out in this book because I feel like with his perspective, it's interesting because he's always played kind of a major role in the first and second books, even though he wasn't a main character, like one of the main two protagonists. Um, and I think fleshing him out in this book, it makes sense because he's kind of they've been V. Schwab's been hinting at certain things and about his past and stuff, and so now you're kind of seeing that, so it makes sense, and I like that, and I like how that's kind of integrated into the novel. And then, ooh, I remember two perspectives that. So then she started adding in the perspectives of the king of Red London, and for him, it was kind of random just because he was never really um, made out to be super important to the novel. He was kind of more for creating conflict, that kind of stuff. But now that he's been given perspective in the third novel, I can kind of see that based on where he is, like, as a character in the story, I can see how that can become a conflict. There's still 200 pages left that I haven't read of the novel, so just so you know, I don't know how it ends yet. Um, and then there's the Queen. The Queen, I feel like literally she could just not be in the novel and it wouldn't make a difference because I don't think she's really adding anything to the story. I think at one point, one of her chapters, she runs into a character which from one of, that's, I don't want to get into too much about who this character is, but basically she runs into this guy in the king's chambers, and I feel like that's supposed to allude to some kind of conflict that he's going to be bringing about, unless that conflict already happened. I don't know. But other than that, I just don't feel like her perspective was needed because I think she's already had 2 or 3 chapters. I don't know if it was. I want to say it was at least 2. I don't know if there was 3, but in all honesty, it was pointless. She didn't need any chapters. You could have used one of the other many characters you already are giving chapters to kind of do or have the purpose that she did, if that makes sense. So, but where to go from here? So, another thing I think that is kind of making the novel drag on for me and making it hard for me to want to finish it, I think her writing style might play a part of it because the plot for me I find interesting enough, and it's the only thing really propelling me to finish the novel because I just want to know how it ends and where everyone goes. But I feel like at points her writing style, I don't know if her writing style is really that bad, to be honest, because I think it's a very good combination, or yeah, combination of like a purpley flowery prose and just simple writing. I think she does a very good way, or she's very good at um, writing. Her writing style falls between the two, which I appreciate. I feel like for me, I guess a lot of the writing style really that for her that bothers me is just the characters. and how she writes the characters in and how she develops them. So that's my take on Conjuring of Magic. I still haven't even finished the novel. Like I said, I have 200 pages left, and it's been a real struggle for me to get through the 400 pages I just did. And it just sucks because for me, her stories have always been interesting. I'm pretty sure I just said this at the beginning, but I always found her stories interesting, and I think that they start off pretty strong, but something happens in the middle of, well, it's hard to explain because I know with Monsters of Verity, um, when I read the Savage Song, I thought the first book was really good, and so I wanted to read the second book. But then with the second book, it just did not start off very strong. But then during the middle, it got a little exciting. But then it just ended, and I just didn't care for the ending. I don't. It wasn't because I thought it was so awful or anything really happened. It was more. It didn't seem like anything really did happen because I couldn't even tell you how the novel ended. That's how much of an impact that ending had for me. Like, talking about it, I kind of am remembering a couple of things, but I couldn't say any more than those, like, maybe that one point. But I think with the Darker Shades of Magic trilogy, the first book started off strong, and then the second book is kind of where it dragged for me, and then the third book, it just kept getting worse as far as it taking a long time for me to read. And then it's just so inconsistent, I guess, because at points I'm very interested in the story, and I don't know how much of it is just me not being in the mood to read um, that this genre of um, novels, or if it's just her story in general. But it's just it's just frustrating because, like I said, I want to like her books because I think that the stories are interesting. I just can't get into them like I can other books. So, on that disappointing note, I hope you enjoyed listening to me talk about this. I might do a little update after I finish um, after I actually finish this. Not in this video, I'll have to make a separate video because it's probably going to take me forever to even finish those 200 pages. So, but yeah, I just hope it gets better, and I hope the ending is a little bit more impactful than it was in the other series I read by her. Oh boy. Alright, anyways, thank you for watching again. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in either the next video, or if you want to check out my blog, although I feel like most of the people who will be watching this are people from my blog. But if you have not checked out my blog, I'll link it in the description. All that good stuff. I actually post there more regularly because I like the blogging a lot. Anyways, have a good rest of your day. Wow. Wow, that was a great way to end this. Alright, I'm just gonna go. Bye.